That's true. Thank you, Judd, for remembering that.
Aren't you proud of me?
I am that you.
Hey, there's Rebecca.
Yeah.
Hi,
Here I
Rebecca.
am. Hi, folks.
Rebecca, I just sent you a list of potential new members on email
Okay.
for you to help with raised hands as we get started. So look for that just now sent email.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, everyone.
All that noise you hear in my background is my son. He is headed out to Arcadia National Park in Maryland. He's going to go camping, like in tents and things.
All right.
And containers that keep the bears out of your food and all that expert kind of stuff.
Bear spray.
And keeping his mother awake. Come on.
As she waits anxiously.
Yes.
All right, I think we're going to go ahead and start. Welcome, everyone. I'm happy to see so many people joining us today. It looks like we have at least 22 people. And so we'd like to begin our October meeting, PN for the DC, Virginia, PN support for the DC, Virginia area. My name is Pat Gualtieri. For those who don't know me, I am the president of the Peripheral Neuropathy Support Network and the DC, Virginia PN group. Many of you I've emailed with, and I'm happy to see your faces. Lee is new, and a few other people I see here I haven't seen before, so welcome. You'll have a chance to introduce yourself in just a few minutes. Judd, if you would please put the agenda up, it would be helpful.
Can you see that?
Yes, that's good. Thank you. And the agenda for today is pretty basic because this is an open discussion format. This means there is no speaker and everyone will have a chance to raise questions, issues, concerns, share information, and that is hopefully the point of this. Sharing is caring, and we will learn from each other. In a few minutes, we're going to have Judd talk briefly about his own experience with COVID that he is still recovering from, and also segue into some articles about long COVID. And then I will ask the new attendees to introduce themselves and give a little bit of an overview of their PN journey. Then we'll break up into open discussion where we will raise any questions that people still have, take a 3 o'clock 5-minute break for people to stretch, hydrate, and as Steve Klitzman always says, get vertical. And then we'll resume our open discussion at 3:05 with Mike doing a wrap up at 3:50 to 4 o'clock. We have something sort of unique for the DC, Virginia group. We do something called overtime at 4 o'clock. This is an extension of our meeting. We formally close at 4 o'clock, but ask or offer the opportunity to stay on for an additional half hour for a more social, less formal interaction. If you have questions that you didn't get answered or you want to speak directly with someone else from the meeting, overtime gives you that extra half hour, and it is not recorded. So if you have personal questions or your own experience to talk about, you can feel comfortable with that. However, the 2 to 4 o'clock session is recorded. Okay, with that, I would like to mention that those of you who have your phone or a number or a message that only has your first name, if you go to the participants list and click on rename, it helps us rather than calling you iPhone 2 or whatever, we would actually have a name to address. With that, Judd, would you like to do your little overview of COVID based on your pretty horrendous experience?
Sure. And anybody who has had COVID, please, you're welcome to chime in. I had not. We've been very good. We've been sheltering down. We've been masking up. We got our groceries delivered, and for 5 years we've stayed away from COVID. And so I thought I'd beat the system. But about 6 weeks ago, came down with it, my daughter and I, and she's a lot younger, so she was not as affected. And I was thinking that this strain of COVID was very light, mild symptoms, very contagious, which is what I heard. And that didn't work out for me that way. And we decided to do a little piece on this because I wanted very strongly to ask people to really take this seriously. I see a lot more people with masks, and there's a lot of attention being. I wasn't paying attention, but a lot of people were saying, the emergency rooms are filling up, and people are falling down, and so forth. And I just really, I guess I wasn't paying attention. But anyway, about the 4th of August, I started the symptoms, and I thought, well, I can survive this. And every day I'd wake up and I'd say, okay, I feel lousy. I think I'll try to fix some breakfast or something. By 10 o'clock, I was in bed. And pretty much for the last several weeks, I've been in my pajamas. And so the executive team here knows. I mean, we've been trying to meet with them and do our work. I really had to schedule out. But the thing about the mild symptoms did not. If that's mild, I'll be dead in 3 weeks. So, but it was appetite, vomiting, all the symptoms you'd think. Foggy brain, high blood pressure. I'm diabetic, so running really high numbers, ordinary numbers that you'd really be asking to be put in the hospital. I told my daughter, who came over she said, I've got COVID anyway, let me bring you some groceries. And I said, great. She came over and I said, good. If I didn't have you all, the kids, I've got 3 kids and they're all very good about ministering to us. I said, if I didn't have you all, I'd be in the hospital right now. And she really took that seriously. And of course, we should, because as older adults, not only we can give our younger patients, younger children, COVID, but then other older adults then are exposed. So, and they say that the danger for long COVID is young people. Yes, old people and children get long COVID, but the real danger is young people. And I'll talk. I want to get into that long COVID thing. We published. We've got a little thing on the website. If you go to the website and just go down to footnotes, the first story is about long COVID and what it really means. And long COVID lately has been associated with the brain, with neurology, not pulmonary as they thought earlier. Yes, it is pulmonary, but more and more, it looks like long COVID is more associated as a neurological disorder. So that has implications. And actually, the researchers are saying that's a good thing because now we've narrowed it down. But it's a bad thing for people with neuropathy because here we are trying to fight off various things, and here comes long COVID. One more thing to worry about. And let me just pause here and ask if anybody else has had, the same kinds of or similar kinds of problems with COVID lately. Good.
Wow,
Well,
that's impressive. Good.
Wear your mask and just the old rules. Don't touch other people and stand 6 feet from them, and then avoid social events. And I mean, that means the football game, not that you wouldn't get together with 3 to 6 people or something, but it's coming on, and here we have the winter months coming, and so yeah, we really need to take precaution. But long COVID is, you'll see in the article that long COVID is not an official desktop reference kind of disease. It's something the doctors will tell you is happening in retrospect. It's got an official research name, but it's not long COVID. But anyway, we know it as long COVID. And what it means is, for example, the doctor is going to prescribe Paxlovid generally for you. If you tell them you've got COVID, they will immediately give you Paxlovid. It's a horrible medicine. But anyway, you got to take it, and it lasts for 5 or 6 days, and then it runs out. And generally, they don't prescribe that. So you're on your own after that. And if the virus resurfaces, then you're in trouble because, like I did, the first bout was more or less mild. The second bout was terrible, and I really think I had a third bout. In other words, every 5 to 6 days, I was re-upping my subscription to the virus, and eventually you wear it out. I guess COVID has learned that if it doesn't kill the host, it can mutate a lot better and longer. So I guess that's a good thing. But anyway, so long COVID. I know several people with long COVID, and I said, Lord, please take me out. Don't give me long COVID, because they have a really bad time of it. It causes all sorts of other complications that are unrelated to neuropathy or COVID. But for example, I have a friend in Montgomery, Alabama, who basically has had it for 4 years now, and it's really impacted her life. She's still got it. I mean, she's probably 3 out of 4 days a week, she's in bed. She's had to curtail a lot of her activities, and some people get over it. They have a 3-month bout of COVID, for long COVID. Other people just don't seem to be able to get rid of it. And so I just wanted to point that out as far as we're concerned, because I think our group is really susceptible to it, and we need to guard against, of course, infecting others, especially our family and friends and things. So that's what I wanted to say, Pat.
Thank you, Judd, for those comments. And as Lou said, we're all very sorry that you had to go through this, because I would watch him and I was really, really concerned because he was not rebounding at all. And I have a 21-year-old niece who has had it since the earliest COVID. She got it, I think in, my goodness, 2020. And she still has to go to the emergency room at 21 years old when her oxygen is, off. And she had to quit nursing school. So it's really very serious to be concerned about, and to the point where AARP dedicated an entire bulletin, the September 2024 bulletin, to COVID and the implications of long COVID for those our age. So that is referenced on the website. And Lou Mazaway just pointed out in chat that the Foundation for Peripheral Neuropathy has already addressed this earlier and is looking for more recent information on that. We have 2 people who we might ask to come speak, not specifically about long COVID, but comorbidities and issues for our age group. Dr. A, who is at Hopkins, who has actually agreed to be our medical advisor, is going to speak to us in the new year. And this could certainly be one of the topics he addresses, but he will also be talking about the research at Hopkins that they are doing. But the other person that I wanted to mention is Dr. Matthew Levine, or Levine, I'm not actually sure which way he pronounces it. He is my new neurologist, and I think he is excellent. He spent over an hour with me the first time getting my history and looked into the possibility. He had researched, I couldn't believe it, my history since 2015 when I was first diagnosed at Hopkins and had realized that I was possibly deficient in B12. And so he was thinking that might be an answer to my quote idiopathic, that maybe it's actually a malabsorption issue. So we're working on that. Anyway, he is the kindest person, and he agreed that he would speak to us in the new year as well. So we have two potential topics of interest for our group coming up. We are already booked through December, so we're really happy with how things are going. He practices, Lou, at Georgetown, and he also has an office in McLean, Virginia, so it's easy for the Virginia DC group to reach him. And I put his information in the chat, and we will be saving the chat and posting it to the website if you aren't sure how to do that. All right, thank you again, Judd, and we will now move on to welcoming our new attendees and opening it for discussion. We'd like you, if you don't mind sharing, telling us more about your personal PN journey, how long you've had it, what your diagnosis is, where you live is important for us to know, and also any questions or issues or concerns that you would like to raise to the group. And I'd like to start with Lee Lefton and then move to, is it Leslie Graybill? Leslie. Okay, Lee, if you'll start, please, and then Leslie, and then anybody else who is new will certainly hear from you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Like Pat said, my name is Lee Lefton. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is an absolutely fabulous place to live. My wife and I came here on vacation the late 80s, and we just turned around, sold our house in California, and I've been here 33 years now. So
Wow.
that's my pitch for Santa Fe. I have been a type 1 since I was 16 years old, so that's 58 years. I have been in very, very good control because I'm one of those hyper-vigilant people who won't let myself go too high or too low. I've seen all the technology changes over those years. This was before pumps, before glucometers, all that stuff. So I first got neuropathy. I had foot surgery in 2018, and I healed nicely. You know, the wound healed very nicely, but I started to get nerve pain afterwards. And my doctor said, I really don't know what it is. So he sent me for to see a interventional radiologist who went through and found that I had some blockages in my legs. So they went through, they did angioplasty on those, but the pain never really went away. I tried lots of different things, saw a neurologist, went on a number of different medications to try, nothing worked. What finally helped me was going to the Mayo Clinic in 2021. They have a pain rehab program, and it was 3 weeks, and you stay there 8 to 5 every day, and they put you through a number of, well, they show you how to manage emotionally and physically the pain of neuropathy. So I couldn't speak more highly of that program. It's very clear why the Mayo Clinic is one of the top in the world. Where do I go from there? I've been using something called a Beamer. It's B-E-M-E-R. And it's electromagnetic waves. It's a machine, it comes from Germany. It's FDA approved. They've gotten a lot of good results. One of the main things they use it for is neuropathy. Whether or not it's helped that much, I can't really say. My neuropathy changes from day to day. It's just pain is what it is. I have no numbness or anything else like that. It's just pain. And it really impacts my life, which I know most of you probably do understand. On the days when my feet are pretty good, I can go to the gym, I can walk the neighborhood. On the days when my feet are bad, I just sit in the living room with my feet up and watch TV. That's the basics. If I think of anything else, I'll chime in as we go forward.
Excellently.
What was the name of the device?
BEMER, like a beamer, like a, you know.
And how did you find out about that, Lee? Was that something your neurologist suggested?
He's an old buddy. He's an MD. He has neuropathy that he got from chemo. And he started using this and he ended up becoming a distributor because he just swears by it.
Uh-huh.
And if anybody if you are interested in this, you probably can go online. You can find out somebody in your area. They sell them. I rented it for 2 months because I just wanted to make sure, it would help.
That's a good idea. Okay. And 2 questions, I guess. People always ask about insurance coverage. Did you get coverage for the purchase of it, the Beamer?
No.
Okay. And do you mind telling us about the cost approximately?
The new ones are $6,500. He sold me the one that I had rented for $3,000. And there are a lot of them online that are used.
Okay.
My only issue with getting something used is you don't get a warranty, you don't know what the condition is. So I just trusted him and I went with him.
Okay, good.
There it is,
And how frequently do you use it?
twice a day. And that video right there you're showing, it's an amazing video. It shows that you are blocked and the blood is moving very slowly. And as you go on for 3 minutes, it expands, 8 minutes, it expands. And it's just really, that's the thing that turned me on to it.
And how long have you been using it?
About 4 months.
And your grade, or what would you say at this point after 4 months?
On certain days, I'll say it's, I don't think it's ever gone much higher than a B. Other days, it's either a B or it's nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that information. Has anyone else heard of the Beamer or tried it or something similar? No. Okay. Lee, please, if you
Yes.
have any questions of the group?
Yes,
Oh, Helene.
yeah, and
Oh.
yeah, I just put a note in I guess I didn't send it yet, but I've had a Beamer for 10 years.
Really?
Yes, for 10 years, and it was sold to me by a couple of friends who, had it. And anyway, I use it every night. I sometimes have a hard time falling asleep. So rather than committing to my bed, I use the Beamer for 20 minutes, sometimes 40 minutes, sometimes 60 minutes. And then find it very easy to fall asleep. And I keep my feet on it for 20 minutes. In other words, my feet aren't outstretched. I have it laying on a lazy boy. And so I just keep my feet propped up so that they're on it. I've had peripheral neuropathy now for maybe 5, 6 years or so. I don't have pain. I have numbness and some discomfort. I also had an ankle injury and surgery about 13 years ago. I don't know if that prompted things. My feet were very cold, like ice cold. And I went for a period of time with that. And then my feet got hot, where I had to put cold washcloths on them to try to cool them down so I could go to sleep. So, but now I don't have either of the hot or cold problems, still have the numbness. But as I said, I've been lucky enough not to have any pain issues. So I like it. And the friend that sold it to me has a son who had a ski accident and is a quadriplegic. And he took her Beamer, and it is now, and then she got her hands on another one. But that's how much she likes it, for herself and for her distressed son.
Wow,
I'm glad that you
quite a comment. Thank you for adding that. Catherine, did you have your hand raised? I'm sorry, I couldn't tell.
I just wanted to add that I'm currently doing cell signaling, which is a wave therapy that you go to centers and they have it. And I definitely think that that has been beneficial as far as pain. And I would say when I first started, I was in the 7 and 8 range of pain, and now it's definitely much better. I mean, there are days like the gentleman was saying that are bad no matter what, but I think it's been significantly helpful. It takes a lot of time. You have to go like 2 or 3 times per week and get hooked to a machine for 20 to 30 minutes. 15 minutes is the least amount of time, but most of the time it's 20 to 30 minutes. And it sends like a series that they pre-pattern for you to do. And it's not comfortable, but it's not terrible either. Somewhere in that middle ground of you know that an electric current is going through you. And they say that it's for the nerves to regenerate, to kind of, you know, revisit one another and get into more of a healing mode. And I didn't have feeling in a lot of parts, and now I definitely have feeling in it. Now, is it totally not painful? No. But is it better than it was? Yes. I've been at it for about 4 months. And I know Phil Roach in this organization, he had done it as well.
Could you put that in the chat, please, Catherine, the name of the procedure? And
Sure.
Glenn, did you have something to add? I'm sorry, you put something in the chat as well.
Well, only be, you can look at it in the chat anyway. The Beamer, obviously, as Elaine was just indicating, is not new under the sun. It's been around a while. It's one of the classifications of medical devices that's been used for neuropathy and a lot of other injuries that are supposed to help with circulation, primarily through activating the nitric oxide pathways, which relaxes smooth muscle in the blood vessels and presumably brings more nutrients and oxygen to affected tissues and helps you get rid of toxins and other waste products. The other class of these type of things, which tends to have that effect, although it's supposed to have more effect on the nerves directly, is what was just being described by Catherine. And it also includes things like the Rebuilder, which are designed really to work with the ionic concentrations that pass across the nerve membranes themselves. I still think a lot of these, though, are very much a your mileage may vary type of situation. I remember the first day that I was actually in Norman Latov's office 21 years ago. There was a salesman for anodyne therapy there that day, which is really the same principle as the Beamer uses. Again, those nitric oxide circulatory pathways. And I think that because of that, those type of treatments tend to work better on certain types of neuropathies than others, particularly ones that have a major circulatory component, such as diabetes does. I don't know if it would be as effective with some of the toxic or some of the other autoimmune diabetes causes, for example.
Thank you for that additional information. We're going to move on to Leslie Graybill. Welcome, Leslie. We've been communicating by email, so I'm happy to meet you. And please tell us a little bit about your situation.
Thank you.
Unmute.
You need
She's
to
unmuted, but the mic's not working. No, she realizes it too.
that she's working on. Maybe we'll hear from someone else while she works on her volume.
Well, Belinda had a question in the chat. It said, with the Beamer, how long does the relief last?
Lee, can you answer that?
I think it varies. Like I said, some days I feel pretty instant relief, and it can last until the next day, at which point I get on it again. I'm doing it twice a day.
Okay,
Other times, like I said, I'm not sure it's helping at all. How much of the relief also is wishful thinking on my part? Which I definitely think plays a role.
sure, that placebo effect,
Yeah.
where you really want it to work, for sure. Catherine, how about your wave procedures? How long does the relief last for you when you've done a session?
For quite a while, for quite a while.
Okay,
Catherine, you put in the National Neuropathy Center. Is there a name for this procedure or?
It's yeah, I'll put that in.
Okay.
Thanks.
right. Any luck, Leslie?
I think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
good, yeah,
Oh, yeah, great.
I hear you now.
Takes a while.
All right.
Hi, yes, Leslie Graybill. I live in New Zealand. I'm American, and we've lived here since 1982, so quite a long time. My neuropathy, I've only just probably the last 8 months actually had a name. But I think in my mind, it's thinking back, but my doctors never really told me that it might develop into neuropathy. About 12 years ago, I started just getting numbness in my toes, and I told them about it, but nothing. Oh, are you diabetic? No, I'm not. I'm not diabetic. And nothing was ever done. Well, it's just developed a little bit more numbness, and now I've got when my feet get hot. That's what happened when you were talking before. I think it was Catherine was talking about how her feet get hot and their feet get cold. So my feet were getting very hot, and I'd have to put cold packs out of the fridge on them to cool them down. And so I did that for a while, and that was quite manageable. That was fine. But now it's developed into the stinging. When they get too warm, they feel like my feet have all just gone to sleep, and they just sting, and it's not very pleasant. And as long as I keep my feet reasonably cool to cold, that's the way I've been managing it for as long as I've had it. And it's like yours, Pat, idiopathic. And my neurologist said, well, we don't know why you have it, so we can't do anything about it. And was just left there. I did have, it was interesting, the other, I think, who was talking about the wave therapy. I did have a conduction study after I saw my neurologist, and he determined that it wasn't a motor problem, that it was just sensory. And he said, well, you can have a wave or a conduction study if you like. So I did that, and yes, they found that my nerve that goes to my feet is not conducting as well as it should be. And but it was interesting because for a full week after I had that conduction study where they were putting pulses through my nerves, it was lessened. My symptoms were definitely better. And I thought, oh, this is good. Maybe I could just go and have conduction studies every week and go bankrupt probably. But so now I'm down to, I was so happy to find you all, because this has been just a gold mine already of information, because I felt like I was just at a dead end. I did watch a video about, and thinking about diabetics get neuropathy. I thought, well, if it's the sugar, I'll just take sugar out of my diet completely. And so I've been doing that for only a couple of weeks now. So I'm down. So I thought I'll do it for 6 months, no sugar, no chocolate cake, no ice cream, and do it for 6 months and see if it makes any difference. Well, what happened if I'm cold enough when I get in bed, I can go to sleep, but usually 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up and my feet are on fire and stinging. Well, this last few days, it's been 3 days now, 3 days in a row. It's only been my left foot and not both feet. Yay! I think maybe, I don't know. Maybe this like keto diet. It's straight up keto, no carbs, which it's just sad. It's sad when you have to take all that good stuff out of your diet. But hey, if it's gonna help my feet, it will be absolutely worth it. So that's where I'm at. And yeah.
Leslie, do you have any specific questions for the group as a new attendee?
Well, yeah, just what helps? Basically, what helps? Does the cold, is that what everybody's been doing? Like keep your feet cold? And does that because someone else mentioned that too.
Mhm.
Does that help everybody or just some of us? Or
No,
no, is there anything else that people try to do? Like somebody said, they just when their feet are bad, they sit there in the chair with their feet up and watch TV.
Well,
Distraction actually
Yes.
helps a lot.
of course,
totally what it is.
I play bridge, and so on bridge nights, my feet, my feet are on fire, but I'm sitting there concentrating playing bridge and trying to, be good, and I can forget about them for a while.
Mhm.
Well, it's interesting you ask about the cold versus the hot. We've heard people say, oh, before I go to sleep, I have to plunge my feet into a ice cold bath. And
Yeah.
someone else answers and says, oh no, that's the worst thing I can do. I have to warm mine up. So it really,
Oh, so it's different for
one thing
everybody.
we do know about peripheral neuropathy is it's highly individualized, and
Individual, yeah.
you just have to
Well,
figure
yeah.
out what
Your-
works.
Your
Yeah.
distraction effort is, that's something you need to work on. In other words, when you go to bed at night, try to find something to distract you. If you have a hard time going to sleep, not everybody does, but many people do. I did. I started listening to lectures on tape, and
Oh, right. Yeah.
it was on tape back then. That was 26
Right.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, you can stream them now and turn them on and turn your timer on so it goes off after a while after you go to sleep. Yeah, why distraction works is because the pain that you feel is it's something strange, something that doesn't seem normal, and it takes your mind off of doing life, doing all the things you want to do. So you want to just sit there quietly and be quiet. That's hard. That's hard
Yeah.
because you feel it. On the other hand, distraction works. Why does distraction work? It's because pain, your ability to detect pain is in your head. Your head says, this is strange. This is different. This is not only different, but it's kind of frightening. Yeah. And that takes you away from life. Yeah. Distraction works really well. I don't know about this thing we were just talking about.
Beamer.
Yeah, Beamer, but a lot of people use, for instance, the TENS, which just makes an electrical signal that you kind of feel a tingling, and they find that takes them away from it enough that they can go on and do something else.
So
It really depends on what pain is, and there are lots of sources of why it could reach your brain, but what you do about it is you try to stay away from it.
Okay, we need to move on because we have a number of people. I think Billy Spears, are you new to the group? If I'm remembering?
Yeah, fairly new, Pat. I think this is my third time, maybe.
Okay. Do you have anything that you'd like to update us on?
Yeah, sure. For one, I live in Huntsville, Alabama. The Rocket City, they call it. We're the home of the Marshall Space Flight Center. But anyway, my neurologist diagnosed me with idiopathic peripheral neuropathy in January of 22. So I'm relatively new to it, but but the pain in my feet feels like I've had it forever. And I've tried just any number of things. I even had there's a pain clinic that's associated with our local hospital, and I had an Abbott Labs neurostimulator implanted near my left hip, and it had any different number of modes and intensities, but it just didn't work at all. And after a year, I had it taken out. And I'm right now I'm looking into there's a local company that does stem therapy, and I'm guessing it's very expensive, and I don't know if it will I don't know if it'll help or not, but one of the things that they say that they work on is peripheral neuropathy. And I have pain in my knees also. I had both knees replaced, one in 2018 and one in 2020, and I was pretty much back to hiking and riding my bicycle, and then I got this diagnosis of neuropathy, and so every time I'm on my feet, it hurts my knees and my feet, so it becomes a vicious circle, and I hate to feel sorry for myself, and I really don't, because there's so many other people in the world that are worse off than me, but pain is such a cruel adversary. And so I appreciate everybody and the things I've heard here.
Well, we certainly appreciate you sharing. Glenn, do you have any comment on the notion of the STEM therapy?
Again, very much your mileage may vary situation, as almost all of this are, all of these are, including spinal cord stimulators, because often that depends on placement and how much of the neuropathy symptoms come actually from compressive forces as opposed to more systemic ones. The sad truth right now is, even with various different research areas going forward, is that we really don't have anything yet that seems to work for most of the people most of the time. And that even includes the drugs that a lot of us take to just try and get some of the edge off.
Excellent point. John Deal, are you new to the group? I think I remember a new email from you.
We have some hands up.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, but let's ask John again. Okay. Hands, please. Or comments, anyone?
Lou and Mike.
Okay, Lou?
Well, I was just going to say, the folks that are having pain, have you tried? I mean, I take, gabapentin, and not everybody does well with it. But if you're having pain, you need to try to deal with it. And, there are different ways to do it. And a lot of people have an aversion to drugs, but I think pain is a hell of a lot worse, usually. So that's just my 2 cents on that. But
All right. And another hand raised, Belinda?
you're on mute, Belinda.
Okay. Okay. I've been here before. I'm just not here every month, but I've had neuropathy now for about 8 years. I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma a year before, and as a result of that, they put me on chemo, and one of the side effects of one of the drugs that I was taking was neuropathy. Now, prior to that, I had diabetes for at least 10 to 15 years and never had neuropathy in my feet before. It only started when I started taking the chemotherapy medications. So you know, it was a catch-22. What am I going to do? Am I going to take it and deal with the neuropathy or not take it? My doctor, my neurologist had given me duloxetine, HCl capsules. And because I was on so much medication, I really never took it. But recently I went to his office and he asked me, he said, Belinda, are you taking the duloxetine pills? And I said, no. I said, doctor, I don't know if you realize they have a recall on those pills. And he didn't know. So he looked it up and saw that there was a recall on it. So he suggested that for right now, try to do something else. And I think it was at the last meeting I was at, some young lady here had mentioned something about aquatic therapy. So I started that last week. So it's too early to tell whether or not it's working, but I know once I'm in the water, my feet don't bother me at all. And the doctor also told me to use a foot massager. Now I have one that looks like a waffle iron. That's the best way I could explain it. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. So I haven't used that yet. So he told me with the foot massager and the aquatic therapy, he wants to know, if that'll work for me.
Excellent. I actually did aquatic therapy as well and found it very useful. My problem was that, at least in Northern Virginia, it's very difficult to get an appointment because this is not water aerobics. This is actual therapy where the physical therapist is on the side of the pool telling you what exercises to do and correcting your form and such. And then you're supposed to repeat it on your own in the pool until the next appointment. As I said, I found it very useful, but the demand is so great that you could only get one appointment once every 6 or 8 months. And I just didn't feel like that was helpful because it wasn't, something that was, how are you doing with appointments, Belinda? Are you going to be able to get more consistent therapy?
Yes, I'm going, my appointments, I have 2 sessions a week. Now I live in New York City.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so I live in the borough of the Bronx, and it was hard to find aquatic therapy, but I did find it in Manhattan. So it's like maybe about less than a half hour for me by public transportation to get there. So, but I don't have any problems getting an appointment, and the therapist stays in the water with me and actually does the exercises with me. So I went once and I love it.
Okay, excellent. As I said, mine never got in the water with me, but just would direct from the sidelines. But she was excellent. I just couldn't get an appointment with her. Anyone else have experience with aquatic therapy or a foot massager, as Belinda has been recommended, that they want to comment on? No, okay.
What kind of exercises do they do with you in the water? So what specific things do they do?
Okay, now there's several things they're working on. I have spondylolisthesis. I also have lymphoderma in my legs, and I have arthritic knees. So I'm a total mess. So when I get in the water, what she did with me first, you just walk from one side of the pool to the other. You just walk back and forth. Then you do it sideways. You stretch your legs sideways. Then she would use the what do you call those long things that look like tubes?
Yeah.
Noodles.
Yeah, the
Yes.
noodles,
The
right?
noodles, yes.
Right. And then she would rest one on top of my, I guess, at the bottom, on the top of my foot, and I would raise it up and down in the water. And then I would also do it backwards. I would, extend my leg backwards and move it up and down. What else did she do with me? I didn't walk backwards. She wanted me to walk backwards, but with the neuropathy, my balance is not that good, especially in the water. So I didn't do that yet.
Right. Okay.
But she did a lot of things with the noodles with me with weights, and she even put weights on my ankles in the water. They were filled with water. They weren't real weights. And surprisingly, I am not a small person. I'm a very large woman, and she was really amazed that I could move, especially the way my knees were and my feet. Now, she said she would never know that I had the type of problems I had. looking at what I was doing in the water. So that's why I found it very helpful.
Right. The water with the
Good.
buoyancy and such
Right.
enabled me to do exercises and that I couldn't necessarily do. And I was working a lot on balance and ankle strength. And she told me that the work we were doing in the water would help once I was on land. And I do think it did. And I really would like to go back to her, but I sort of gave up on that. Jeff H., are you new to us?
No, just haven't been in a while. I'm not new.
Okay, excellent. Anybody else here who is a new attendee that I've missed or has their hand raised? All right.
I think Mike's got his hand up. I don't know if he means to have his hand up.
But Jeff says he's been here before, but I don't remember him coming. Has he?
Jeff
Crutch?
Creech or Crutch? Jeff?
I'm a long timer. What are you talking about?
You're another Jeff. You're a different Jeff, Jeff.
Oh, sorry.
I think Glenn is familiar with Jeff, but maybe
Yeah.
the rest of us aren't. Would you like to introduce yourself again, Jeff?
Sure. I'll be honest. I can't remember if I introduced myself when I first attended, but I had sudden onset symptoms of pain everywhere in my body the end of June of 2020. I was subsequently diagnosed with small fiber neuropathy with no cause. I've developed other symptoms in the last several years. I have constant muscle spasms in every part of my body. I have stiffness everywhere in my body. I have been diagnosed with a rare autoimmune condition. It's difficult when you have whole body symptoms and you got an autoimmune condition. It's hard for me to tell where the neuropathy starts and ends versus what the immune system is causing. So that's it in a nutshell. I have other issues, autonomic issues and what have you, but I'm looking for immunotherapy by the end of the year once they finally give me the approval.
And what type of therapy are you waiting for approval on?
It's probably going to be IVIG. It might be plasma exchange, depending on what they decide. So,
Anyone have a question or comment for Jeff? Jeff, do you have a question or comment for us?
Are you connected with the other foundation that specializes in IVIG, Jeff?
I am not. I'm connected with the with Glenn's Western Neuropathy Association autoimmune group, which has been quite helpful in kind of preparing me for what will probably happen. I have another group that deals with autoimmune conditions that also kind of helps me prepare for that. I'm part of a couple of neuropathy groups. I actually have been co-hosting the Colorado neuropathy group while Jenny, our founder, is away. So I'm pretty familiar with neuropathy in general and all the forms.
There was a whole issue of Scientific American, and I can't quite remember when it was. It's several years ago, about autoimmune disease. There's an awful lot of research going on as to what the common threads are. Apparently, there are parts of the body that they're finding out all kinds of reasons why, different reasons why autoimmune sets in. I don't know if you'd seen that issue or not.
I probably have. I spend a lot of time reading up on this. I luckily have. I live in the Denver area, so I luckily have one of the top neuroimmunologists in the country at the University of Colorado that I see. So she's involved in a lot of the research. So I feel like I'm in good hands. I'll be honest with you. I thought I knew a lot about medicine until I started looking at immune conditions and all of the issues related with them. It gets quite complex to a point where other neurologists don't understand what the neuroimmunologists say. And at that point, I kind of throw up my hands and say I'll let them take over. So, but you're right. From what I've been told by my neuroimmunologist and my neuromuscular specialist, that it's been a rapidly advancing field. Recently, they're coming up with new autoantibodies, and they're learning more about it. So there's more hope for the autoimmune related conditions and those associated with neuropathy, that there be better treatments in the future.
Well, if you're associated with those people and you talk to them, try to get them to write a letter to the editor of Scientific American, suggest that after all this time, it's time for them to have an article about neuropathy. They've never had one, and it's, we're talking about a very large percentage of the population of the United States, and that it's growing, and it's growing quickly because of the growing amount of diabetes. So if you're talking to those people, urge them to write letters as experts.
All right. I'd like to
Will do
this as a segue. Glenn, this is an opportunity for you to tell us a little bit. We've lost, there you go.
Sorry.
I lost my train of thought, sorry. Would you talk about the various groups? Because I think that a lot of people would be interested, like in the chemo-induced and your singles groups that Western Neuropathy runs, please.
Oh, yeah, certainly. We'll do it quick. Western Neuropathy Association runs 3 general groups a month, generally on the Saturdays that this one is not occurring. That's how we tried to arrange it. So we have one that happens on the 2nd Saturday of the month and also the 4th Saturday of the month. And there's also a general group for people who can't make weekends that runs on the 3rd Wednesday of the month. There are 3 specialized groups currently. There's a chemo-induced neuropathy one that I run on the 2nd Wednesday of the month at 5 p.m. Eastern. There's also, as Jeff has just mentioned before, the autoimmune CIDP and treatments group that happens also on the 3rd Wednesday of the month that John Phillips chairs, which generally happens at 6 p.m. Eastern, if I'm right, Jeff, and 5 p.m. Central, just so, John can come off of work. And there is a new one that Erica McDaniel started that's meeting every other month for singles. And that's been happening on the 1st Wednesday of the month. And I think the next one of those is going to be in November. You can find out all about this, by the way, just by going to pnhelp.org. That's the WNA website. And of course, I'll throw that into the chat. But we try and get as many of these, going as possible. And a lot of very, very knowledgeable people attend them. So please feel free to join.
Yes, I thought it was important that people know about these additional groups. There's also one that runs on the 3rd Wednesday in Pittsburgh and the 3rd Thursday of the month in Bethesda, Chevy Chase. All of these are on our calendar on our website, and I've put our website, pnsnnetwork.org, on the chat, sorry. And we've also put up the pnhelp.org, which is the Western Neuropathy Association. And you can find this, and it will be part of the wrap up. Can you go to the next slide, Judd? You're at the agenda. There you go. we'll leave this up during the break so that you can write these down if you're interested in pursuing our websites and finding out more information on articles that have been mentioned or groups that have been mentioned today. And with that said, we're going to stop for a few minutes, 5-minute break that we always take to allow people to move around and perhaps hydrate. And we will see you back at about 10 after 3. And please don't leave. We'll continue our wonderful discussion at 3:10, and we'll see you in a few minutes. I'm one of the one that has to move.
Still on?
It's a 5-minute break. Let's leave my stuff there on.
There's Bill Porter.
Just checking in.
Oh, Bill.
Hi.
Good to see you.
How are things going?
Pretty good. My bandwidth is stable.
Are we
That's
on
me.
break?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on break.
I understand you overbooked today, Bill.
Couldn't be me. It's all Pat's fault.
Yeah, let's blame Pat.
Is the next part of this discussion?
Basically,
I really have a question. I hope they can get to me.
right. Well, just raise your hand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Pat's watching your hand.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
when the screen comes back.
Oh, good. Let's do that. Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, there she is. Pat, Marlene has a question when we start back.
Okay, we'll give them another minute or two.
And look who sneaked in.
Yes, I see you, Mr. William Porter. Hello.
Hello, I got about 20 minutes. I thought I'd want to check to see if anyone's being too rowdy.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's been a very calm and collected group. Without your excellent moderation, we're still managing. So there you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Rebecca's cat's been helping.
I hadn't even noticed. Look at that. There you go.
Pat, can you
Yes.
can you put up the screen can you email out the screen that was just up? You had the list of the Facebook group and the PNS network and
Yes.
yeah.
Sure.
Can
Yes.
you do that? That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's actually as a PDF, but we will send that out to the group or
And-
however, Judd, you think it's best to send it.
Yes, and it's on our website too. So
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
if you go there, there's of course that and a lot of other information.
Right.
If you search on groups or something like that, you'll get a list of national groups. And
Right.
I'll make sure, we were just talking about that before the meeting started. I'll go ahead and post that page on the website so you can find it.
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
I'll let you know.
That's easier than going and searching, but we do have a search function, of course, on the website that you can go to the calendar and you look at past meetings and or you put in a topic that you're interested in. Like last month, we had a speaker on traveling with PN challenges. So that's up. We've had articles about mobility issues and assistive technology. Those are up. So it's very worth your time looking both at our website and Western Neuropathy Association's for additional information on many of the topics that are discussed and or any of the speakers who we had in the past. So
Nice.
with that being said, I think it's 10 after, so we will continue our discussion. I see Meredith. Hello, Meredith. Good to see you. Has joined us. And Marlene, thank you for changing your name so that we can recognize you.
I changed my name? Oh, I thought it was on there.
No, it had
It
been
is.
your phone number, but you changed it. I appreciate that.
Okay, well,
Rebecca-
Marlene has a question for you.
Oh, Marlene is the one who has the
Okay.
question. Okay, go ahead,
it's a,
Marlene.
have the neuropathy in my feet. The burning at night, mostly it's a loss of sensation. It's gotten worse since my hip replacement. I don't know why, but it has. I'm using a cane and my balance is terrible. I have to push my feet into the surface to feel anything when I'm walking. Also have no fat pads left under my feet. I don't know if that's related or not, but there's something they can do, injections into your feet underneath with filler. I was just wondering if anybody has had that done because I want to look into that. Nothing, I've taken medications, nothing's helped this neuropathy. I just, like someone said, I try to go out every day to distract myself and do some things if I can to help someone else, but it's a big drag. I just went to an event and walking on the grass, I thought I was going to fall. I didn't use my cane. I didn't want to take it. I don't know. I just didn't. And it was awful. The balance has just gotten so bad. It just seems to, anyway, so that's my question, if anyone has had that experience having that done or knows anything about it.
I think balance is a constant for a topic for discussion. All of us are trying different PT therapy and such to try to increase That was my focus at the aquatic therapy. But I have not heard of anyone who has had injections for their, as a filler for their foot pads. Is anyone here familiar with that?
Glenn, jump in, please.
Well, no, I'm actually not familiar with that. I was interested, what the indication would be for that. I'm assuming it's to get some of the pressure off of the bones and the joints,
Yes,
but
yeah.
but I'm certainly not aware of anybody, having had that done for that specific reason as a way to help with neuropathy. Most of the injections of filler that I'm familiar with are cosmetic.
Oh, I know that, but this is another use for it. And there, you have to find a podiatrist or someone who actually can do this. I'm still looking for someone.
Well, that was my next question. Who was recommending this, or who had you found to do the injections, or have you found?
I research this constantly, and I read about this for a long time and decided it was something I wanted to try. If I can find someone that does it.
Well, if
I
you
wanna
do,
try
we
it.
would certainly be interested in your results or your experience at a subsequent meeting, because this was new to me. I've never heard of it. So I'd be very interested. Mike?
There are some shoe stores. There's one in McLean that specialize in foot problems.
Mhm.
Maybe you should try one of those stores to see if you can
Talking
find.
about a shoe store?
Yeah, Shoe Fly in McLean, Shoe Fly. Are you in the DC area?
No, and I have a lot of shoes that they're supposed to be the best. It doesn't help at all. The shoes, the padding, nothing has worked right now.
Okay. I think that also is a common experience. People buy Hoka, or somebody says that this one actually will work, and it again is highly unique to your particular situation. I think it's the answer there.
And if you're on Facebook, oh my God, they're every other ads for neuropathy now, selling
Yeah.
lotions and this and
Yeah.
I've ordered some of those things, and I got, because I was desperate, but it's really big. I mean, it's
Yeah, you have to be
so
very
many.
careful, of course. Anyone else who has their hand raised that I haven't seen, haven't noticed? All right,
I have my
Mike.
hand.
Mike, again, go ahead.
I have a couple of comments. Bill Spears and anyway, I'm trying to think. He says that it's painful to walk, and yet the primary treatment, the one that works, has the best track record of all, is exercise, because it's kind of a use it or lose it thing. And then the other, who was it was talking about water aerobics?
Belinda and Pat.
And
Yeah.
Belinda.
Oh yes, Linda. I'm not doing it right now because I've got a scheduling problem, but I participate in the Silver Sneakers through a health plan, and go to the gym twice a week. And I used to go to a local pool for water aerobics. And the point is, you just got to keep moving. One way or the other, you got to keep moving. And so if you find, as you said, Bill, you said it makes the pain worse to walk on it. Devil,
Bike.
yeah.
Go biking.
Yeah, water aerobics might be a savior in this case. Also, I've also mentioned that my balance is getting worse. That's the long-term threat of neuropathy for that and going crazy because of the pain. But in terms of your overall health, it's balance and falling. I read a statistic the other day that said that um, more people die in the United States from falling than die in auto accidents. It's about 50,000 apiece every year. The reason that's are noticeable is because the medical profession has finally gotten around to tracing back why people die, and they found that an awful lot of the cases people die because of the long-term effects of falling. In other words, they fell and they stopped, something else happened, and then they died, but it turns out that falling was the primary cause. And so, yeah, got to keep moving. Get in the water. I find now I'm thinking about going back to water aerobics because a couple of times in the past few months, I've doing my training at walking around in water in silver sneakers. I temporarily just lost my balance, and of course, what's happening as the neuropathy continues is the strength of my muscles in my ankles gets weaker and weaker and weaker, because it's just progressive disease. And so at some point, I'm probably going to take a tumble on a hard wooden floor, and then death, could be at my door, or some other thing that can. So yeah, if it takes water aerobics, then do it. Of course, your skin will all wrinkle.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm
Yes,
glad
I'm
you-
very
Mike,
cognizant of the possibility of falling.
Mike, I'm glad you mentioned silver sneakers because that's a really important opportunity for us through Medicare, who are those of us who are eligible. It is a senior fitness program, and various gyms and or pools participate in it. You can check for your eligibility, but if you're Medicare approved, it's free. They are
Only with certain providers. It's not with everybody. It is with United, though.
it is with several others. I'm blanking at the moment, but anyway, you can just go to silversneakers.com and find out more about the program. I do the virtual programs in my living room, and I really enjoy it. It gives me a push to do the exercise, especially during those hot weeks when I didn't walk. So please do look at that. It tells you what health plans participate on their site, silversneakers.com. Betty Ann, you had a question earlier, and I'm sorry I didn't answer it. Are you still here? Oh dear, I guess we missed her.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, there, Betty Ann. You had a question earlier?
Oh, I just wondered if you knew of any groups in Western New York or upstate New York.
I knew there was a question. Glenn, can you tell us about upstate New York? Do you know of a group?
None that I know of currently. I think there were one or two at some point pre-COVID that met in person on an irregular basis, but I don't believe any of them are still going on.
I also do not know of any. I'm sorry to report. That is one advantage, obviously, of Zooming. We are, from New Zealand. We've had people from Hawaii. We've had people from England. So it is an opportunity to at least be able to share experiences and ask each other questions. And I'm going to ask Jim and or Sheila Scott, if you are here. You had emailed about coming to this meeting, and I wondered if you had anything that you specifically wanted to ask Sheila or Jim. Okay.
They're muted. I asked them to unmute.
Yeah, you have to unmute. Okay, perhaps no question. Is there anyone else with a raised hand or would like to comment? Or I don't know who this PC 454563 is, or anyone? Okay.
Pat, it's Mare. I just wondered if you could elaborate a little, because I've not looked into Silver Sneakers, and when you were talking about using it virtually, I just wondered if you could describe it a little bit more.
Oh, yes, it's excellent. They and AARP, I go back and forth because they both have virtual online exercise classes, and they give you the sessions for the upcoming week, and you just register this for that specific program. Like there's walking, there's balance, there's just a variety that you can mix or match whatever fits your schedule. And if you go to Silver Sneakers, they have live online and on-demand videos. And I'm looking at it right now. Thousands of fitness classes and locations are participating. So you can go to silversneakers.com, check your eligibility, and then you put in your zip code and you find out both live and online classes for your area. And pretty much the same thing with AAR Community, which I think is fantastic. AAR Community not only does fitness and health, but it does travel, and it does art, and it does education. There are so many online classes. Talk about distractions. You could, it's almost overwhelming, the number of classes that you can participate in. One thing that I'm not quite sure about the value of is AARP has what they call Fitness Express, and they are 15-minute focused exercises. Maybe it's on hip or your feet or a particular area of a problem for you. And you just participate for 15 minutes. So you can't really say, oh, I don't have time to do it, because who doesn't have 15 minutes? But I'm not quite sure what 15 minutes Express Fitness does for you, but I tend to look for their half-hour or 45-minute classes. And the joy of it is you don't have to be seen. You don't have to turn your video on. So you don't have to feel like, oh my gosh, do I have to put on fitness clothes, or do I have to look like I am doing Zumba correctly or whatever. So that's both a pro and a con, because there's also no one watching you for your form or to say, oh, Pat, you're not exactly doing that. That's why I don't do their yoga, because I'm not really comfortable with doing yoga without some instruction. So anyway, there's a huge variety of classes, both through Silver Sneakers and AARP, that are free, that are still online after COVID has sort of eased a bit. And some of them are back into in-person gyms. You just have to find a location, as Marlene mentioned, that is participating, like Skyline at Bailey's Crossroads here in Virginia participates, and that's where I used to go. Brian, yes, Brian, you have your hand up.
Well, yes. Someone was talking about their pain when they're walking, that if you go to a larger size exercise gym like I do, there's one in Seven Corners called 24-Hour Fitness. They have a wide range of equipment so that you can actually ride an exercise bicycle, but you're laying back, you're in a reclined position, and then you could dial down the resistance to where it's very minimal resistance so that you could get some aerobic exercise, moving around, getting your heart rate up without having to put a tremendous amount of strain on your feet and on your leg muscles pushing against that pedal. So that if a larger size gym, they have a greater number of equipment that could give you some exercise without having the pain of putting a lot of pressure on your feet, like walking or riding a regular bicycle. So there are some options to exercise without the pressure and pain on your feet.
I don't have a silence. Do you know, Brian, if they are participating Silver Sneakers Gym, 24-hour fitness?
No, not about Silver Sneakers, but I go there for free through my health insurance company, United Healthcare.
Okay.
And at least the policy that we have, and it does not entitle you to use the pool and all the other equipment, but it's the basic package that you can go as many times as you want. It's free of charge through my insurance company. They're open 24 hours a day. They have a lot of equipment. They have 2 full floors of equipment there and other exercise opportunities, indoor tennis courts and that kind of stuff, and a swimming pool. But there's a lot of equipment there, physical equipment, aerobic equipment.
Mine is also free through Aetna at Skyline, so it's certainly worth looking into if you're looking for a gym to go to in person, or just do the virtual. I see two others have their hands up. Can you help me, Judd or Mike?
Betty Ann?
Betty Ann, you have another comment for us?
Yes, Pat, you said you have Aetna now, so you have Silver Sneakers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have Aetna now. I used to have Excellus Medicare Blue Choice, and their program's called Silver and Fit, which is, I don't know whether they do some video things or not. I just go to the Y and it's free.
Okay, so there's another option for us to look into. And who was your United, or I'm sorry, who was your health carrier?
I have Aetna now. I had Excellus Medicare Blue Choice before,
Uh-huh, okay,
and I think that was a Silver and Fit one. But it's the
Yep.
same thing.
yes.
Linda Oakey.
Linda Oakey, hello, we haven't heard from you today.
She gave up, but Linda, you're there. One thing, you need to mute.
Unmute. There we go.
Yeah.
I was just, I guess I'm off the subject of, this is off the subject of fitness centers. I do a lot of exercise at home. My balance over the last 10, 11, 12 years has gotten so bad that I have to use a walker. I don't drive anymore. I see you have a program coming up about hand controls. I tried it, but having driven for 50 years, it was, I did well in the hour practice that I had on the street, but it was terrifying. It was as bad as trying to drive with neuropathy, primarily because my brain doesn't seem to know where my feet are, and you don't want me on the road. But I had a question about Lyme disease. Has anybody had Lyme or been diagnosed with Lyme and suspect or know that your neuropathy is related to Lyme disease?
I do
A lot
not.
of doctors don't believe in it. They think 3 to 6 weeks of medication, doxycycline or something, will fix it. But I strongly suspect that mine never got fixed. So
Yeah.
Glenn, do
Yeah,
you have a
I do
comment?
not have Lyme disease, but one of my students, I do, for all those of you know, I'm an original Princeton Review person, and we do lots of test preparation and stuff. One of my students actually came to me because he had Lyme disease and definitely had neuropathy as one of his symptoms. One can certainly get neuropathy from Lyme disease and West Nile virus as well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the doctors just don't seem to believe in it. And those doctors who do, I mean, I've paid as much as $600 an hour to see a Lyme specialist, and was very disappointed in her. So, you pay your money and you take your chances with those doctors because they are very expensive. The insurance doesn't cover it. Speaking of insurance, I have Medicare AB, and I was a former Fed, so I was able to take my federal health insurance into retirement, and neither one will pay for actual Lyme treatment because they don't believe in it. And getting tested, reliably tested, is very difficult. So I have hopes that somebody else has had a similar experience to mine. I was diagnosed back in the 90s, and I do live in the Washington metropolitan area, sort of. I'm in Woodbridge. So those of you who are from that area probably don't regard us as being part of that area, but we are. I see more and more in the news that we're Northern Virginia, but this doctor who I saw back in the 90s, and in fact, one of my daughters, who was in middle school at the time, was also diagnosed, as was my husband at the time. And we were all treated, of course, with doxycycline, but I had recurring symptoms. And so the same doctor who diagnosed me, whose personal hobby horse was Lyme disease, treated me again for it. She just told me to keep taking the doxycycline until I felt better, which I did do. But I've been treated subsequently for it. And I don't know. I guess things have gotten so bad not so much pain, but the balance problem has gotten so bad that, I mean, I'm a virtual shut-in, and it's depressing. So I'd like to find reasons. My neuropathy is idiopathic. I'm not diabetic. I haven't had chemo. So I was hoping somebody else might have had Lyme and maybe thought that their neuropathy could be tracked back to that.
Linda, you might, if you have the time, and it sounds like you do, you might be interested in joining another support group like Steve's that's coming up October 17th. They are located in Bethesda Chevy Chase as their focus area, Maryland, and perhaps ask another group. And they usually have about 30 people. So reaching out, if I go to the meeting and I find out anything, I'll certainly be glad to share it with you because.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great.
You can get the information again on our website about how to join Steve's group on the 17th. Mike, you have your hand raised?
Yes, I just want to say that you went and you tried out a car, one of their demonstration cars?
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
Well, there are a lot of hand control solutions that don't require use of your feet at all. Perhaps the place you have didn't have one available for you to try out, but they do exist. And it just the nature of living, especially in a place like Woodbridge, which I'm afraid to tell you is in the DC area, just like Leesburg considers themselves to be in the DC area.
I've been here since 55, and we were never considered until recently part of the Washington metro area.
The world just gets worse all the time. Yes. Yeah. If you come to the meeting in November where we're talking about hand controls, you can ask about it. And they ask, in particular, see if there's some way to try out something like that. The company that the representative that we're going to have in November, they have lots of ways of configuring a car with different kinds of equipment. So maybe they have a way to configure a car with just hand controls without using your feet at all.
Yeah, I don't know how long my hands are going to be a lot of use to me because I have neuropathy in my arms too. So it's, yeah. But what I found was that and I guess maybe I should have tried it. I could have had my car converted for about $4,000 to see but it was just so frightening that you had the type of control. There was another one that I thought I could use better, but that was $10,000 to convert. And that was kind of a big commitment not to know because you couldn't try it out. Where was the place? It was in Northern Virginia, and it was the only one I could find. But I'll show up in November and see what the deal is because I'd like to get out. The other thing is though, with a walker, you have to be able to put it in your car and take it out and set it up. And I use a rollator, and so that's kind of inhibiting too, in terms of getting around. I mean, you have to have balance decent enough to be able to pick the thing up. But I do exercise a lot at home in an effort to make some progress. Also, I wanted to ask, I have a blood clotting problem. And I think, I take Eliquis because I've had PEs and DVTs. And I was wondering about any of the supplements that people say produce more nitric oxide, like Super Beets, or I saw another one today online. And if those, I mean, the reason that I've been exercising so much, like chair yoga, and I have a thing that shuffles my feet, and then I have a seated elliptical trainer that I use. And I mean, I'm exercising like 2 and 3 hours a day just to keep my blood flow,
Right.
moving. And I was just wondering if anybody has tried just increasing their nitric oxide and if that helps at all, or is that not a useful path to go down?
Again, it's probably a question that Glenn might address. Do you have an opinion as far as the super bees and such?
I have not seen much evidence for supplementation to help with the nitric oxide pathways because it seems it takes stimulus and actual movement to get the oxide secreted through the smooth musculature. I actually think if you're exercising a lot, you're probably doing the best possible thing in terms of getting that done. Because, when this is an issue that does come up a lot, particularly with people who have, circulatory problems beyond neuropathy. And I just haven't seen, with the different papers that advertise B vitamins and advertise certain herbal things where there really does seem to be much of an effect on it. The only things that I have seen where there maybe was a small effect are the sulfur-based vegetables, things like garlic, onions, which are probably good for you, for other reasons. So if you can tolerate them, that wouldn't hurt it. But even there doesn't seem that much of an effect.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, hand is up.
Well, I got 2 questions for Leslie Graybill. First off, I'm trying to figure out how you're getting all that sunlight at 3 in the morning in New Zealand.
It's because it's 9 o'clock in the morning on Sunday.
Oh,
That's why.
Right.
okay.
The meeting started at 7 a.m. and
Okay.
it's Sunday. Yeah.
All right. That's the second question for Leslie is, have you tried to, there are no support groups in the Wellington area, or?
When I looked online, all I found was you guys. So yeah.
Okay.
We want her to keep joining us.
I can look. I just was happy to find you, so I thought, right.
We want you to come back, but more importantly, we since you look like you're relatively able, and you were able to find us, which is a feat in and of itself. We have you considered the possibility of starting your own group there? Because if you go to, I don't know, there must be, Glenn would know, but there must be a hospital or a university in New Zealand that has some kind of specialty on neuropathy. That's a wild guess, but and just say, hey, look, in the United States, half the population has neuropathy. Maybe there are a few people in New Zealand that have it too.
I'm sure there is. So yes, well, and I could contact the neurologist that I went to once. And yeah, see if there's neurologists are like hen's teeth here, and they're very, very hard to get appointments in with. Yeah, so and New Zealand is medically quite a long ways behind the States, and we just don't have the same kind of things. All of these things that you've been talking about. When I went to my GP and she said, yep, you've got peripheral neuropathy and I can't do anything for you. End of story. And to the neurologist, and I said, well, I'm not happy with that. I'd like to see a neurologist. And he went, well, yep, it's idiopathic. And if we don't know why you have it, we can't do anything for you. It's like end of story. And so I thought, right, well, I'll go to find a support group and see, what other people are doing. And so what's available here, apparently, talking to those 2 specialists, there just isn't anything here like
We're not-
those
we're not trying to drive you away.
but, but you know,
um,
they didn't tell me about any of those things. So this is fabulous.
One of the reasons to have a local group is, for instance, we were talking about where we get hand controls, okay? Well, where do you do that in New Zealand?
Yeah.
We had a program not long ago about a company that specialized in adaptive equipment, a company that sold equipment for people who had disabilities and needed some kind of adaptation. Things to help in around the kitchen, to things, you know, all kinds of things. And I'm sure there's a place in New Zealand that does the same thing. How would the people, how would you find out about that in New Zealand? And
Exactly.
that's the reason to have a local group, because that kind of information can be spread around.
Yeah, no, very good suggestion. Thanks for that. Who started your group? Who initiated that?
Steve isn't here. Steve
But
has
he's
his
still
own
part of the
out
group.
in Bethesda, yeah.
Steve is the reference that I just put in chat, who runs the Bethesda Chevy Chase group now.
Oh,
He
right.
moved from Virginia to Maryland and then started a group there after many years here in the DC area. So make sure though, when you write it, it's steve.klitzman@gmail. You need the dot.
Yeah.
Forget that.
I did write to him and he welcomed me into his group as well. And I'm actually having bilateral knee surgery on the day that they're meeting. So I told him, look, I can't make the October meeting.
Right.
But I will join you in November. Yeah. So yeah.
By the way, we had our speaker on traveling with PN challenges, and he was excellent. His name is Craig Kennedy, and his recording of that meeting is up on the website. But Steve is having another person speaking, as I understand it, a nurse, on pain management while traveling in November, on November 21st, which I think is an interesting topic to also consider, because what can you take with you? So as far as pain management. And anyway, let's see, we are closing in on our wrap-up time, and I want to make sure that everyone has had a chance to speak who wants to. I see Judd's hand is up. Judd?
Well, I just wanted to bounce off Leslie a little bit. To me, you know, you talked about you can't find a neurologist, and everybody, idiopathic is useless as a diagnosis and so forth. You know, that's basically the way it is in the States for most of the country, I think. And in fact, so much of what we talked about today has nothing to do with medicine. You know, we've talked about lifestyle changes, nutrition, exercise, and so forth. And that's really what this group is about, is handling your situation apart from all these expensive solutions. And I just wanted to point that out, that I think a major benefit of this group is to find out about things like nutrition or exercisers, like we talked about silver sneakers, and or you know, the other things that are non-medical, non-research, non-doctor oriented, non-specialist. I mean, there's just so much. Yes, yeah, medicine is a miracle and we love it to be living during this time, but so much is available to us without a prescription. My 2 cents.
Yeah,
and also, Leslie, I was just wondering to what extent of testing you've had, because apparently your visits haven't been all that fruitful. I threw into the chat a link to the Dr. Norman Latov Quest Diagnostics paper about serological testing for neuropathy, and it's something you definitely should take a look at, just to see how many of those tests you've actually had. It's been my experience, unfortunately, people are a lot more likely to be idiopathic at the local clinic than they are at a tertiary center.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I've only had the conduction study, that's all. And what he did to determine that it was sensory and not motor. He did a whole lot of motor stuff, and some sensory stuff, and decided that it was small fiber sensory neuropathy. And yeah, and that took an hour, and then he sent me to do the conduction study, and that's, you know, and they said, well, that's it. So that's all. Apparently that's all that's available, like, at least from that neurologist.
And I just wanted to add,
There's other things they can do. There's other studies, there's other tests.
There are some other actual physical tests they could do, such as things like a quantitative sensory testing, or even for small fiber neuropathy, the gold standard is still skin biopsy. But before getting into that kind of stuff, obviously the stuff that I threw into the chat is just about standard blood testing to just see if you have some of the markers for these conditions. And there's no test that's in that list that can't be ordered by a primary care physician.
Right. Yeah. My doctor, I think, yeah, when she was investigating this, she ordered a whole lot of blood tests. Yeah, I forgot about that. She ordered a whole lot of blood tests, and they came back with MGUS as being positive for MGUS.
Okay.
So, and that, when I was reading that, it's like that can lead to multiple myeloma or lymphoma, and that was very terrifying.
Yeah.
So whether that's related to
probably you may not really be idiopathic. MGUS is a known cause of neuropathy, and not all that an uncommon one.
Right.
And particularly, I don't know what your background is. There is a higher tendency for that for people who originally came from northern latitudes, because it is an immune condition. And there are a lot of immune conditions that seem to have higher prevalence for people whose ancestry is, say, above the 50th parallel.
All right. Okay. Ancestry, yeah, Scottish and Danish.
And that would do it.
That would do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything Scandinavian is definitely a sign to look for autoimmune conditions.
Oh, bugger. Don't like that.
Yeah. You know, the joke is blue eyes, red hair, look under there.
Look under, okay.
We have two more people with hands up that I would like to get to before our wrap up. Meredith, go ahead, please.
Two quick things. Glenn, could you tell me how you spell that? MGUS and
Yeah, I'll put a link in there from the Washington University Neuromuscular website. It stands for monoclonal gammopathy of uncertain significance. And it's basically an immune blood condition that is often a precursor to certain blood cancers, although about 2/3 of people with MGUS never progress to a blood cancer, which is a good thing. But basically, those particular conditions, in addition to other symptoms that can happen, are well known to cause neuropathy because the immune complexes will interact with particular components of peripheral nerve. And in fact, Lou is no longer with us, right? Lou took off a little early. Lou has a variation of that, which is known as anti-MAG neuropathy, which is anti-myelin-associated glycoprotein neuropathy, very similar condition.
Okay, thanks. And the other thing I wanted to mention is to you, Leslie, is yes, Steve founded our group, and Mike had a lot to do. I mean, he did a lot of leadership too. So you've got a person right here in this room who, not to volunteer you, Mike, but I'm saying I would listen when he talks about forming groups. I mean, he's got a lot of background.
Yeah, because I have no idea how to do that. Not a clue.
Well, we're very happy to help you. We've been working with a woman who is trying to get a group going in out in Connecticut, and Glenn has just put up the Washington University site, which is really important to know about. Their neuromuscular database, and you can find a lot of information there simply by searching. We need to move to Linda Oakey. You have your hand up, Linda. Go ahead.
I put it down again. I'm sorry. It was something that was said about multiple myeloma and the blood testing. And I do have like what is it, light chain kappa?
Mhm.
that comes up high, like over, but the other two tests that, or the other two things that go along with that, and I can't remember whether it's gamma or what it is, they're usually within normal range. So I had one neurologist, I've had five, who was very thorough from GW. And he did he did a lot of EMG testing, and he did a lot of blood testing too, and he kind of ruled it out because of subsequent testing. But that is a path that I'd be interested in. Also, just in mentioning nutrition, I was taking a B multiple vitamin that had been recommended by an osteopath, highly recommended. And my B6 was really, really high. And of course, high B6 can cause neuropathy. So I stopped taking that. But I'm thinking about going back just to taking the B12, though I think I probably get sufficient in food. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. I'm going to stick around for the Washington, since I've been blessed as being part of the Washington metropolitan area. I'm going to stick around for that discussion.
Excellent. All right, we're going to move now to wrap up before overtime, remembering that we will continue for half an hour past 4 o'clock for those who still have questions or just want to interact with each other. Go ahead, Mike, please, for our closing remarks.
Well, just we talked about it during the break. There are a number of meetings available. I wanted to talk about the November meeting. We really need to know how many people would like to actually physically try it out. That is, get in a car and stand behind, can work the controls, maybe drive the car down, over a block or so, or just see what happens in a safe place. If we have a lot of people, then who want to do that, and I'm talking about here in the Northern Virginia area, then if it's a lot, we might want to try a different location. But right now, it doesn't look like there's more than a half dozen or so, in which case we'll probably just have it here at my house. I have a car with hand controls. They're kind of basic. Leslie was talking about not being able to control her feet very well. Well, no, I don't have anything that complex. But this company has now branched out. I think they have 3 locations because they've been very successful, and we hope to have somebody come and talk about the kinds of controls. And in particular, one of the things that people are very concerned about is the licensing process, the process by which you get tested to see whether or not you need or have to use hand controls, and how do you negotiate that process when you're not certain that you need it, but you want to be proactive. And so I actually got my hand controls when I just had a little thing. I just thought my foot was a little slow at moving from the accelerator to the brake. I was on a little slight slope coming out of a shopping center, and it just detected that my foot wasn't moving from the accelerator to the brake as quickly as I thought it should. And I went and got hand controls, and then from a company that didn't really talk much about licensing. And then later on, I went and talked to these people and went through the whole licensing process. So I don't know a lot about the licensing process, but we have had stories of people having bad experiences with the whole licensing process. So we need to have someone to hold our hands and figure out what to do. Just to go through this list here, we have a Facebook group. We've got a YouTube channel. We've got the Western Neuropathy Association also has a YouTube channel, and they've got a newsletter that they put out, and of course their website has a lot of information about all of that. The foundation they've got a webinar on hereditary neuropathy. Now, one of the things we didn't mention a little earlier was getting genetic testing. There are a lot of genetic conditions that seem to be really important in terms of the possibility of getting neuropathy. And one of the really important, and the reason hereditary neuropathy is so important is because it's so exceedingly difficult to study what goes on in peripheral nerves. It's just horribly, horribly hard. It's one of the hardest things to study in all of the body is what's happening inside your peripheral neuropathy and in your peripheral nerves. And hereditary, very often they're able to take, when they look at one of these hereditary neuropathies, they're able to take a look and they say, oh, this particular gene is causing this particular portion of the nerve to act in ways we don't like. And so it's revealing an awful lot of information about what is actually causing and what the mechanics are of peripheral neuropathy. So genetic testing is a real possibility. And I think they do genetic testing in New Zealand, just like they do here in the United States. How am I doing, Pat?
You have about 2 minutes. We need to talk about the annual meeting and the exit survey.
Oh, okay, yes. We have an exit survey. The exit survey this month is really important because if you're interested in coming out here to the Herndon, Reston area to try out a car with hand controls, we need to know that. So we decide, where we hold this thing. And the annual meeting, we are a 501(c)(3), so if you give money to us, we really like it if you give money to us. We needed to pay our bills. And we have a requirement to have an annual meeting. So on October 31st, which is on a Thursday morning, we're going to be extending our normal meeting, which starts at 9 o'clock. And we're going to extend it and have an annual meeting. You're all invited to come and talk about what we did and what we're planning to do next year over the next 12 months. How am I doing?
That's great, Mike. Thank you. Do you want to mention the exit survey, please? And I would like to go back to the foundation for another announcement.
Yeah, the exit survey is going to ask you if you're interested in coming out and actually, well, are you interested in the program, but also are you interested in coming out and actually trying out a car?
And that's simply when you leave the Zoom meeting today, whether it's now at 4 o'clock or after the close of overtime, you will, a pop-up survey comes up and it takes like 5 minutes to answer. We appreciate your thoughts on both today's program and also on the upcoming program for November 2nd. Could you go back to that slide again, please, on final wrap up? Lou Mazaway wrote in the chat, and I promised that I would mention this, that on October 15th is the Foundation for Peripheral Neuropathy's 17th anniversary since their founding. So they're having a giving day with the goal of raising $17,000 that day to further research on finding the cure. So he asked me to please tell you that, and you can go to the Foundation for FPN.org and find out more both about the Giving Day. And also, I think it's important to tell you some of their webinars that are coming up because they have been referenced today. The first one is on October, I think it's the 17th. Yes, Thursday, October 17th, on an unrecognized cause of polyneuropathy. Glenn, you'll have to tell me, do you pronounce it H-A-T-T-R, amyloidosis?
They usually don't pronounce it. They just say, like, sometimes people will say Hatter amyloidosis.
Okay.
That it is a hereditary amyloidosis condition, and we actually have one person in one of our WNA groups with that diagnosis.
Okay, so that is on October 17th, and you can register for any of these by going to the Foundation's website. The other one that I think might be of interest is hereditary neuropathy and genetic testing, and that is on October 30th at 11 a.m. Central Time. So remember, you always have to convert and think about the time on these webinars. And another one on November 15th is Navigating Sleep with Peripheral Neuropathy. So those are 3 seminars that are coming that you might also want to look into. And the 4th one is CIDP on December 4th. So they have a lot coming. Do you have any that you want to add from Western Neuropathy, Glenn?
There may be one coming up with about physical therapy approaches to neuropathy at the end of October. We normally have our webinars the 4th Thursday of the month. And of course, we took off the summer. And I will certainly get back with more of that if we have it confirmed, and it'll go up on our website too.
Okay. So a lot is happening in the PN community, and we try to keep you informed. The best way to stay informed is to go to pnsnnetwork.org and look at the calendar or at what we call footnotes. And please make sure that you have joined. That is the only way to ensure that you get future invitations, because joining allows you to be added to our mailing list. All right, at this time, thank you for an incredibly informative and sharing meeting. We appreciate everyone's comments, concerns, and questions. We are going to move now to overtime, which, as I told you earlier, is a more informal and sort of social interplay among people who want to stay a little extra and ask any additional questions or concerns. And it will not be recorded, so you may feel more comfortable speaking